The day Sheikh Hamdan walked away from his own fairy tale, the sky itself seemed to dim. The palace corridors that once echoed with laughter stood silent, as if even the walls refused to believe he was leaving. His heart, once a flame of poetry and devotion, now burned with quiet acceptance. He had written love in every gesture, carved loyalty into the soul of his being, yet that day, he chose peace over pain, truth over illusion. The fairy tale he had built so passionately had lost its purity, and he knew that holding on would mean betraying himself. He didn't storm out in anger or break anything in rage. He simply walked through the golden halls with calm steps, leaving behind a kingdom that had no idea what it was losing. His silence spoke volumes. It was the kind of silence that ends stories without needing to explain. The world saw a prince leaving, but inside him, a poet was dying slowly, yet gracefully. He was not abandoning love, only releasing what no longer resembled it. Once, those corridors had witnessed his heart blooming like spring, his laughter, his poetry, his gaze soft upon the woman he thought destiny had written for him. He had built dreams around her name, trusted her as his peace, called her his reason to breathe. But when love began demanding more lies than truth, he knew the fairy tale had turned into a script written by betrayal. And so, he closed the book himself, unwilling to let anyone else end it for him. Every servant who saw him that morning felt something shift in the air. His royal composure never broke, yet there was something haunting in his stillness. It was the calm of a man who had loved too deeply and been wounded too quietly. His eyes, though steady, carried storms that only poets could understand. The desert outside seemed to mirror his heart, vast, lonely, but breathtakingly strong. People will say that power can protect a heart, but Hamdan knew it was the opposite. The higher you stand, the easier it is to fall when love betrays you. He could have commanded loyalty, but love can never be commanded. It must bloom freely, or it dies. And he refused to change something that was meant to be free. So, he untied the knot, even if it left his soul bleeding. The woman who once swore to stand beside him watched him leave without a word. She wanted to speak, to call his name, but pride sealed her lips. And perhaps she knew that even if he turned around, he would not see her the same again. Love, once cracked, never reflects light the same way. He had given her every part of his soul, but when he realized she had loved the crown more than the man, the fairy tale turned to dust in his hands. He walked through the palace gates, not as a ruler, but as a man reclaiming his heart. The world outside was vast, raw, and real, nothing like the perfect illusions of royal life. And that reality, as cold as it was, felt like freedom. The wind touched his face as if welcoming him back to himself. It whispered that sometimes, walking away isn't defeat, it's divine protection. Behind him, the palace lights still glowed, but he knew those lights would never warm him again. He had learned that love inside golden walls can often be the loneliest kind. It's easy to look perfect in photographs, harder to feel understood in silence. He had once believed in forever, now he believed in peace. And peace was no longer inside that fairy tale. As night fell, he sat beneath the stars, no crown, no audience, no expectations. Just a man and his thoughts. He looked up and wondered if all fairy tales were meant to end like this, not with hatred, but with awakening. The stars seemed to answer him with quiet wisdom. Some endings are not tragedies, they are beginnings in disguise. In that moment, he didn't feel like a prince who had lost love. He felt like a soul who had found truth. And truth, though painful, is the only thing that endures. His tears didn't fall out of regret, but out of gratitude, for having loved.
The morning after his departure, the palace felt emptier than it ever had. The echoes of his absence reached every corner, from the royal gardens where he once wrote verses of love to the grand hall where his laughter once filled the air. The staff moved quietly, as though afraid to disturb the ghost of what had been. Even the birds that perched upon the marble balcony seemed to sing softer, sensing that the one who always listened was gone. His essence lingered in the stillness, not as a wound, but as a whisper of strength, the kind that is born only after loss. Sheikh Hamdan, meanwhile, rode through the desert, the same desert that had watched him grow from boy to man, from dreamer to ruler, from lover to legend. Each grain of sand seemed to speak to him, reminding him of simpler days before life became tangled in politics, expectations, and love's fragile promises. The fairy tale had given him beauty, but it had also stolen his truth. Now, beneath the open sky, he could breathe again. The desert didn't ask him to be a prince, it only asked him to be human, and that, he realized, was all he ever wanted to be. The woman he left behind found herself trapped in the golden cage she once adored. Every luxury mocked her, every mirror reflected regret. She thought she had gained power, but in truth, she had lost the only man who ever saw her soul beyond her beauty. His silence now haunted her dreams. She would have given anything to hear him speak her name once more. But Hamdan's silence had not been born of cruelty. It was the silence of a man who had outgrown the place where pain lived. She was left to face the hollow truth that love cannot be rebuilt on broken honesty. Days turned into weeks, and whispers spread across the kingdom about the prince who had chosen solitude over status, heart over throne. Some pitied him, others admired him. Yet Hamdan paid no mind. He spent his evenings beneath the stars, writing verses that spoke of freedom, forgiveness, and the kind of love that no longer needed validation. His poetry changed. It no longer carried the ache of longing, but the calm of wisdom. The world saw a man alone, but the truth was, he had never been more complete. In time, he built a new rhythm for his life, one not dictated by appearances but by authenticity. He devoted himself to the people, to nature, to causes that healed hearts instead of breaking them. His love story had ended, but his purpose had just begun. The world called him distant, but those who truly looked saw light in his solitude. He had not lost love, he had redefined it. For him, love was no longer a possession, it was presence, peace, and patience. It was in the quiet sunrise, in the rhythm of a camel's stride across the dunes, in the whisper of wind that touched his face and said, "You are home again." And so,